Hey, everybody, and welcome to the CARES December webinar. My name is Dwayne Ellis. I'm the Outreach and Training Coordinator for the Georgia Council for Recovery. But more importantly, I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is that it's been 9 years since I felt the need to use any mind-altering drugs to change the way that I feel. Today, I not only speak out loud to show others in addiction or in recovery that their voice matters, but also because silence never did me any good and there wasn't any healing there. Stigma and shame are no longer reasons for me to stay quiet. Excuse me. But welcome to the December webinar. This is going to be recovery advocacy. As we move towards 2026, the addiction epidemic continues to impact communities across Georgia. It is critical that we prepare now to ensure our voices and values are represented. How we educate stakeholders and the public continues to evolve as we respond to changing medical and policy landscapes. Securing increased funding for peer-led recovery programs depends on strong, diverse voices from across the state. So I want to thank you all for the leadership and advocacy that y'all are already doing and will continue to do. But let's go over some housekeeping really quick, and I'm going to see who's in the room. So please keep your microphone mute if you're not speaking. Our co-host and host will mute people as needed. Everyone who remains until the end of this webinar will receive 1.5 CEUs. You will receive these certificates from our database coordinator, Alvin Cotton, and it'll probably go out sometime next week or the week after that. Anyone who shows up more than 15 minutes late or must step away for that long may continue to attend the webinar, but they will not receive credit. Again, the certificates will likely go out early next week and they'll come from Alvin. And you can make sure to check your inbox and your spam and trash folder for that certificate because sometimes it ends up there. Make sure the name on your screen matches the name you want on your certificate and that you include pronouns so that we can address you correctly. I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll just to see who is in the room. And it is launched. Let's see who we got. CPSP, a lot of CPSAD, some aspiring cares. Got a lot of workshop opportunities coming up for those. And if you want information on that, you could just put it in the chat. Clinician, CPSMH is coming through, forensic peer mentor. Okay, cool. I'm going to end the poll and share those results. Okay, Jeff, we got a lot of cares in the room, aspiring cares, couple of clinicians, MH, CPSP is represented, and some forensic peer mentors. But with that being said, I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. And it is a great privilege to see so many people on our December gathering. I always, I always joke. Some of you are here because you want to be, and some are here because you remembered you got to get that last one in. And whatever drove you here, I'm just privileged that you're here, and we'll share a little bit about advocacy for recovery. We're going to go deep into it today. I do want to say that Dwayne and I will be looking, but if at any point, um, you have a question, a comment, you could agree, disagree, you want to, you know, respond to something I say, you can get our attention, raise your virtual hand, put it in the chat, do whatever, and I'll just stop and we'll, we'll do it. You don't have to wait till the end or anything. I want to be very inclusive and please feel free to interrupt at any time. We are going to do some poll questions. We're going to space them out sort of every 18 minutes. We're trying to both have fun with them, but also be serious about them. So I do hope when you see them that you'll participate in them. Yes, you can have a copy of this when it's over. Some of you know have my cell number. You can ask Dwayne for it. I think I'm going to give a copy to him. I don't know if anybody would really want it, but if you do want it, you're certainly welcome to it. Um, I also want to say right up front, before I forget, that advocacy is not a meeting like this. This is a meeting about advocacy. Advocacy happens 365 days, and the next big opportunity for advocacy is going to be January 28th. Want to make sure everybody hears that. January 28th at the state capitol. We'll start at 9 a.m., right down at that freight depot, which is a block away from the Capitol itself. And then we'll go up to the Capitol and have a big press conference and then go meet our legislators. And if you've never been, actually, Dwayne, that should have been one of the poll questions. Have you been to ARAD or not? But some of you I know have been because I saw you on the screen. And some of you I don't know. But if you've never been, I hope you will come this year. For the past couple of years, it's been the largest event at the Capitol, hosted by a citizens group, meaning not hosted by the governor or a member of the General Assembly. We had about 1,300 people last year. It makes a big difference. So please come. There will also be 3 rural rallies for recovery in February. And I don't have that cheat information in front of me, but they will be 3 Saturdays in a row in February. One will be in Dublin, one will be in Dallas, and one will be up in Northeast Georgia. I promise you, if you're interested in that and you follow the Georgia Council for Recovery or me on social media, you will know when and where those are. But if you live anywhere near those parts of the state, we hope that you will not only come to those, but promote people to come to those. Because that's taking advocacy into the community of our elected officials. And they need to know that that we show up in their communities, not just at our capital. So there's 4 big advocacy events coming during the session, and I hope you'll be a part of all of them. I guess I should say, forgive me for my voice. A, I've been a little bit under the weather, and B, we had an event at the Capitol yesterday, and I guess I talked a lot. So forgive me if I sound a little bit off. Now, we're going to do our first advocacy effort right now, and then I'll tell you why we did it in a second. But I'm looking at and I don't know how to work Zoom, but I got Dwayne and Sunshine McCoy and Latawa Lane. If y'all are willing and want to turn your screen on for a minute. Miss Lane, if you want to. But then I got Crystal, Frederica, Benjamin, I got Neil, I got Andrew, Michael, Lauren, Kelly, Audrey, Sheila, and some more. Everybody look straight ahead at your camera because I'm going to take a picture and we're going to use it for advocacy today. So we're going to go beyond the classroom onto social media. So I'm going to hold this little camera up.
How to cut my camera on? How to cut my camera on, baby?
And she's trying to turn a camera on. Hold on. She's trying to figure out how to turn a camera on. Uh-oh. We can give her a minute.
Miss Lane, it should be in the bottom left corner.
It should say video.
Yep.
That, and I'll post it. And the whole point of that is that we want people outside of our community to know that we are showing up, that we are organizing, that we are preparing for the session, that we are learning about policy, and that we're going to bring policy to them that we want enacted for us. And so a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's as old as time itself. And we want to let people know when we are organizing. So with your permission, Jack is going to come over here and he's going to pull up the PowerPoint and we're going to get started. That's Jack's arm right there. So he taught me how to change the screens. Uh-oh, Jack, come here. It didn't move the screen for it. The screen. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's the name of the class if you need it. Of course, appreciate your support for the Georgia Council. I will say I hope that you are following the Georgia Council for Recovery on all of their social media platforms. We are proud of the council's ability to communicate across the nation and across the state, and I hope that you join that conversation on all the council platforms. So what we'll start with is what's right with you today. And if you want to put in the chat just a brief what's right with you, that is my son Jack. He did play college football. We may need a new picture because he's graduated. But Jack is the blessing of my life, and he is what's right with me today. But I'd love if you put something in the chat. I'm actually going to open the chat up so I can look at it for a quick second. But if you want to share what's right with you today. Oh, a new granddaughter. Ross tomorrow. Oh, now they're popping up. So they're going fast. Okay. Moved to Georgia. I saw that. Alive and free. I saw that. Healthy relationships. Drug-free and joyful. Another day above ground. A tiny dog. I saw that tiny dog one. I love it. I love it. Well, if you feel led, put a few more in there. But when I first learned about what's right with you today years ago, I was like, oh, what's all this about? But I got to tell you, over the past 7 years, I've been in recovery for 9 years, by the way, for those that don't know me. But this what's right with you, it's important. It really does change the tone of a meeting. It changes the tone of how we feel about ourselves and others. And so that inspired me to see some of those things. So thank you for sharing. I will tell you, for those that don't know me, I'm Jeff Breedlove. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I have been in recovery for 9 years. When I was in active addiction, it was basically from 20 to 50 years old. And I did work in government and politics the whole time. I have worked for people you've heard of on the news and people you haven't. And I've worked from Washington and at the state level and down to the local level of governments. And when I got arrested in 2016, I was the chief of staff to an elected official, and I was charged with a felony. And that's bad enough, some people think, but it managed to make the Atlanta news for 6 days in a row, and I was the headline story for those 6 days, and that was really special. My favorite headline was "Crackhead Chief of Staff Arrested," because I know that you all know, if you don't know me, that my drug of choice was crack cocaine. So I did. I do have a lot of street cred. I need you to understand that. I spent 3 whole days in the DeKalb County Jail, so I know people, and I got that going for me. But I went through the legal consequences of what I did, and then I sought treatment at a place called MAR, and I stayed there for 90 days. And while I was there, my father died of a heart attack unexpectedly, and I had to deal with all of that because he was part of the trauma in my life, and that was a whole thing. And I think it was a God thing in a way that helped me embrace recovery further. And I was ready to check out of MAR, and they told my wife and I that I was so sick that I just needed to keep going to meetings. And we were like, for how long? And they were like, 2 years. And that lasted a year and 8 months. All I did was go to meetings 7 days a week. And that my sponsor and MAR gave me a schedule for the week. And, I want to say, just to let you know a little bit about me, I was in a professional men's program, and I had a Delta Airlines roommate, a pilot at Delta who was a roommate. And I had a heart surgeon from the University of Kentucky who was a roommate. And I understood, as important and amazing as operating on hearts is, and amazing as flying an airliner at 30,000 feet with 300 souls aboard it. I mean, that's a big deal to me. It may not be to you, but I think pilots and docs are a big deal. I understood how they could go back to work. I understood there were protocols, and that they followed certain protocols that they could fly a plane and operate, because recovery is real for everybody, everywhere, and anybody can recover. I understood that. But I did not understand how I would go back into government or politics. as the crackhead chief of staff. I did not understand that. I had not fully embraced recovery, obviously. And, you know, I, I, I was told I had to find a job. And I was just like, this isn't going to work. And my wife laid down the law, and my sponsor laid down the law that I was going to try. So I started making phone calls. And I called people who I had given their first jobs to, who had risen to be very successful. And nobody helped me. Nobody helped me. And on the 12th page of 20 names, a guy named Chris helped me. And he is Chris Carr, who is our attorney general today, still in Georgia. And he was the first one that helped me. And he introduced me to a lady named Neil Campbell. And that's where I learned about the Georgia Council for Recovery. It wasn't called that then. And the first time that happened was at Chris told me, I'm going to a meeting of some recovery leaders. That some recovery leaders meeting was ARAD 2019. I walk up, there's Brian Kite told me later there were 750 people in attendance that year. I am proud that we have increased that number ever since I got involved, Brian, in case you're listening. But I was blown away and I was scared. I almost left. Chris texted me and said, don't you dare leave before I get there. I did not leave. And Neil invited me to be a part of her team. Some days I think she regrets that. But, I learned about this recovery community. I learned about the council. I learned about recovery community organizations. I didn't know any of this stuff. And I was welcomed into a family, a fraternity of my brothers and sisters beyond my treatment center. And now, I took all that stuff I learned in government and politics, and I try to use it to advance policy and laws and regulations for us. So here's the first advocacy question. What are the two most important words in advocacy? And it is a multiple choice question.
I'm going to end it in about 10 seconds, but we're getting a lot of responses.
44 of 68. Come on, there's 20 of you that are clearly watching CNN or Fox News right now, or MSNBC.
And those are the results.
All right. So the answer, don't take it down yet. So the answer is, oh my God, it came in third. It is thank you. You always, always, always say thank you. The others are telling them what you want or about you. The most important thing is to thank them for helping you. You might forget the other three, but never, ever, ever forget to say thank you. So anyways, okay, there we go. I'm going to take it off my screen. And I will say that that's enough about Jeff. So this was not a meeting about my life story. So if I can make this screen work, why do we advocate? If you had to break it down to one phrase, in my opinion, that's the phrase: to save lives. Now, I'm telling you, I was the chief of staff to several elected officials. And I sat on the side of the table with the elected official when the advocates came to ask for whatever it is they wanted to ask for. And I mean everything. And they all have a good reason. I mean, transportation reasons are important. Education reasons are important. The environment's important. Everything's important. But there's one thing that we're doing that has the moral high ground. We're not doing anything that we want to do. And that's a word I want you to hear. We're not doing this because we want something. We want bike lanes. We think it would be cool if there were bike lanes in our streets. That's something that you want in America. We need to save lives. We don't want to save lives. We need to save lives. So we have the moral high ground, and that is how you can get the attention of the staff or the elected official if you just remind them, I'm only here to save lives. So that's the bottom line of what you're doing. Now, you will hear me say, and you'll hear me post on social media a lot, we're here to save lives, restore families, and strengthen communities. And that's a little bit bigger phrase that brings more people in to the thing. And I might change that slide for next time. But really, that is what we're doing. We're saving lives, restoring families, and strengthening communities. That's all we're trying to do. Now, any Star Wars fans out there? Then you know who that is. Why did I put that in there aside from my attempt to be humorous? Because I believe the most dangerous part of addiction is not a drug or alcohol that we put in our bodies. It's stigma. It's the stigma around the disease. And there are people out there in America, in Georgia, that hate us, that do not want us to get any of their taxpayer dollars for any of our programs at all. And the minute you come to terms with that, you can understand how serious recovery advocacy is. So my favorite story, some of you have heard that in Georgia we passed the Parity Act. I hope you've heard about that. It was a 73-page bill, and it was a big deal. And we were kind of involved at the council. I was kind of involved for the council, and there was a lot of hearings at the Capitol. And one day, in the Health and Human Services Committee for the Senate, and I want y'all to follow me here because I'm going to ask y'all a question. It's not a poll question, but I want to ask y'all a question. I want you to think about it. A lady showed up, and she signed the public comment sheet, and she wanted to say something. Now, you have to understand, the room was packed. The Atlanta media was in there with all their big cameras. I mean, this is a crowded room. And she got up there when it was her turn, and she stood behind the public podium, and she said the following. The only reason that Jeff Breedlove wants this bill to pass is so he can get taxpayer dollars for he and his drug addict friends to buy drugs. She did not say that in 1983 or 73. She said that 3 years ago. 3 years ago, in your state capitol, in public, when it was live streaming in front of the media. She had no problem saying that about us, all of us. Stigma is very, very real. The people who don't want laws to pass to help us, the people who do not want taxpayer dollars to go to programs to support us, are showing up. We could probably end this lesson here in a perfect world, because if that doesn't inspire you to want to advocate and show up, I really don't know what will. Darth Vader's team is showing up. And I got to tell you something. There's no cavalry that's going to come over the hill to save us. You're the army that we're building. You're the army. I mean, I can go to the Capitol every day, and I do. And I put on a suit and tie. And Larissa comes down there some days. And, they like us. And this is about the only place where people do like me, but that's cool. And you would think, well, Jeff's down there, right? No. I'm just your advocate. I'm just your employee. The power is you. Because I don't live where most of them live. I only live in one house. I only have one state senator and one state rep. But you represent all over the state. And when you show up and you say, I'm from Tifton, and I'm from Valdosta, and I'm from Athens, and I'm from Rome, and I'm from Columbus, and wherever the heck you're from, then your state rep and your state senator go, oh, it's not just Jeff and Grant Park. No, it's people all over the state. So I thought about this morning, and I want to say this. You might say to me, but Jeff, I don't know what to say. I don't like to speak in public. And I just don't want to do that. You know what my answer to you is? Okay, don't do that. Don't. We just need you in the room. I mean, if there's going to be a hearing on a bill, they don't even want us all to speak. But you can come and sit in the room. And you can wear the recovery shirt or hold the recovery sign the council gives you. And just sit there so that they see we have 20 people with us. I am telling you that makes a difference. So when I tell you that sometimes literally just showing up for the team, you don't have to be the quarterback on the team. There's 10 other positions on a football team, right? Don't worry if you're not ready to be the quarterback, but we need a team down there. So you advocate just by showing up. And I did want to say that. Speaking up for the recovery community. The peer voice is the most important voice. I unapologetically say that. We are the voice of lived experience. We are the survivors. And our voice must be at every table. Now, I like to travel. God knows, Larissa knows that. And I want to go to all your communities all the time and be everywhere. Apparently, my wife thinks occasionally I need self-care time and need to be at home with the family. So I don't go out literally 7 nights a week all over Georgia. But Crystal, Frederica, Lauren, I see y'all on my screen. I mean, you can show up to your city council meeting for 10 minutes. That's not a 3-hour round trip. It's a 10-minute drive to City Hall. And when you show up in that room, recovery's in that room. The family voice matters. It's a family disease. We gotta build alliances with our families. We are stronger together when we diversify and when we're inclusive. And when we build an alliance between families and peers, we show Georgia that recovery really is real. Now, I know we disagree with families on some things. I get that. But we got to work past the 10 or 15, 20% we don't agree on and get down to that 80% we do agree on and start making things happen. So my advice is families and peers, when we unite together, we can make a lot of things happen. Now, there is support for recovery. I gave you the old Darth Vader thing a minute ago, and it's true. But y'all, we got some things going on in Georgia that are pretty cool. The General Assembly Working Group on Addiction and Recovery. Yeah, every state doesn't have that. We do. We've got members of the General Assembly working together in what is, in essence, a caucus on our policy issue. There's 4 co-chairs, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, 2 senators, 2 House members. So about 80 members that are joined, about 12 that are really, really, really active. That is a huge deal for us. We've got the Mental Health Caucus. We work very closely with them. They have 4 other co-chairs. We have the local communities working group addiction recovery. We're going to really work to expand that in 2026. That's local elected officials and chiefs of police, because chiefs of police are not elected, but they help us at the local level. And then we're working hard with Business Faith and those others you see on the screen right there. Because let me be very clear, as important, and most of this talk will be about government, but if you are listening to me, I want you to hear this. Yeah, that's just one. The business community, the faith community, the education community, law enforcement, healthcare itself. We got to build relationships and policies. You know, a business doesn't pass laws, but they do pass internal policies for their employees. And we got to say, hey, look, we're glad that you help your cancer employees. We're glad you help employees that have Alzheimer's or whatever they have, AIDS. But what are you doing for your employees that have the medical issue of substance use disorder? Nothing? Well, that's not acceptable. So it's advocacy everywhere. I did want to make that very clear. But we have allies too. I do want to say this. Going back to stigma. If the most dangerous part of the disease, in my opinion, is stigma, let me remind you all that I speak 3 languages, in case you don't know that. Brag on myself for a minute. I speak English, Southern, and political. And in political language, the word stigma. Now, to me and you, I would suspect stigma means hate and discrimination, right? Because that's what stigma is. It's hate and discrimination. But to our friends in government and politics, their language is slightly different. And when they hear the word stigma, let me tell you what it means in their language. Controversial. And politicians do not like controversial issues. They run away from them as fast and far as they possibly can. So, what are we doing? I mean, I need you to connect the dots. This is 101 right here. We are asking government leaders, business leaders, and so forth to support what? A controversial issue. Will they do it? Yes. But we have to show up every day. Because what is the number one thing every single elected official, from the most progressive member to the most conservative member, they do agree on one thing that's the most important thing in their effort of government service? I should have made this a poll question. You know what it is? It's getting elected and reelected. That's what they care about. They want you to think they care about issues, and they do in a way. But the most important thing they care about is themselves and getting or keeping their office. So what are we doing? We're asking them to support us on a controversial issue. What do they want from us? What do they need from us? What do they expect from us? It's very simple. To show up, to let them know we've got their back, that if they support House Bill 1234 that we've asked them to support, that we're out there letting folks know that was a good bill. Because I promise you the Darth Vader team's going to be saying it's a bad bill. So when we convince them that we are what? Organized, that we are consistent, that we are bipartisan, and that we advocate professionally. I don't mean as a job. I mean from a volunteer perspective, professionally. The same way that families volunteer to advocate for AIDS and cancer and Alzheimer's. We're not inventing anything here, y'all. We are catching up to other medical issues with stigma. There is a roadmap that works. When we do what Americans impacted by AIDS and cancer and Alzheimer's do, we will see the same types of success they have seen. We are not doing that still today at a consistent level. We're not. We're getting better. We have work to do. But I wanted you to understand that's what they're looking for from us. Do we have their back? Are we doing this seriously? Are we bipartisan? Are we gonna be there to say, yes, we asked them to do this and we thank them for doing this? That's the deal. That's what it is. Why is there stigma? Everybody know what NIMBY is? Not in my backyard. Oh, I'm for that recovery place. I'm for that treatment center. I'm for that recovery housing place. Oh, but not in our city. Not in our county. I mean, put it over there. They don't ever really define what over there is. It's just not where they live. So we fight a lot of zoning. We were in College Park this past Monday because the city council is trying to deny a recovery house for 6 or 7 men of color in College Park. They're changing the zoning laws in the middle of the game. That's stigma. It's discrimination. It's hate. All right, here's question number 2. What's the most dangerous aspect of addiction? Well, I did tell Dwayne I may have already. If you don't get this one right, you have not been listening. It's a good way to find out who's actually on the Zoom right now. There should be 68. No. No. One of you got it wrong.
I'll end it in about 10 seconds, y'all.
No. No. But go ahead and end it before somebody else. It's stigma. Stigma, 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 stigma. That's what kills people the most. Okay. There's different reasons, personal reasons. I want to give y'all a personal story. I mean, not about me, but a story about a personal reason. And it's something that I learned working for the council in a meeting. And if you don't listen to any of my other stories, I hope you listen to this one. We were helping a great recovery leader go before their county commission in a rural county in Georgia so that she could get a recovery residence for women. Women! 6 beds for women in a rural county that had exactly 0 services in their county. 0. Small county commission, 5 members. And the chairman was not just opposed to it. We met with the chairman in private. He was racist and ugly about it. And yeah, I said racist. And the words he said in that meeting were terrible. Ugly. These women will bring their pimps from Atlanta. They'll rob our houses, bring drugs into our county. Just ugly. He was a jerk. I was doing all I could to not get arrested by his police department. And we lost that boat. I don't mind telling you. Now, I want to tell you 2 things happened after that. Our friend, the county next door to that county, which also had basically 0 services, heard about it. They were like, come on over. I mean, it's just a county line, right? I mean, came right on over. They're in operation today, serving ladies, saving lives, and all that good stuff. So still a victory in a way. But here's why I'm telling you this story. And this is the part you want to listen to. We learned later that every example that man gave us, that commissioner, that chairman gave us, wasn't a theoretical example. It was happening in real life to his daughter in real time. His family was in the throes of their daughter in active addiction, and these things were happening to their family. Wow. I learned that when I say to y'all that there's no family spared, no community spared, I learned I have to realize that chairman, that commissioner, his first name isn't commissioner. It's whatever his real name is. It could be Jeff or Bob or Frederica or Lauren. He's a human being too. And maybe the policy issue we're there to talk about is impacting the person you're talking to. I learned that, and I need you to remember that. So sometimes the person opposed to you on Monday, if you will, might become your greatest ally by Friday, but they haven't gone through what you've gone through yet. And just because they hold elected office or they're a big business leader, it doesn't mean they're immune from what you're talking about. And maybe they're not comfortable to tell you what they're going through. But I learned, don't get so angry at people. Maybe go pray for them. So don't let the opposition be the enemy. Let it be the opposition. Now, hey, look, I know that's not the case every time. Sometimes people just hate us. But just remember, sometimes people are going through what you're there to talk about. Uh-oh. Why does it matter to advocate? Well, I have to tell you, I believe we must show people that recovery is real. I think we recover out loud so others don't die in silence. I believe that. Now, look, my cousin Dave Breedlove is the same age as me. He's not nearly as handsome as me, but he lives in Walton County, Georgia. And God bless him, he decided to run for political office, and he is on the Walton County School Board in his 4th term. Now, that tells you a lot about the state of education in Walton County. God bless those people. But there he sits on the Board of Education. Dave Breedlove is in recovery. Alcohol was his drug of choice. He started drinking in high school back in the 80s and drank like alcohol was going to be discontinued and go out of business. And had some consequences to that. He found recovery, and he's been in recovery, by all accounts, for over 30 years. And apparently, my man Dave goes to an AA meeting every freaking day and has done so for 30 years. Maybe missed one or two, but as a rule, every day he's at a meeting. And he needed anonymity. He wanted anonymity. And I am all for that. If a person needs anonymity, we need to love them and understand public advocacy is not for them, and their recovery comes before public advocacy. I want to be very, very clear on that. Some people need anonymity. But Dave called me up one day and he said, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready on my timeline to tell the story. And he met with his fellow board members and he asked them for permission at a board meeting to have a moment of personal privilege. And he shared with his community that their board member was in recovery and wanted to be a resource for teachers and students and families that might be going through this issue. And he just decided that it was time to tell his community, if you need to talk to somebody, one of your own board members has been there, done that. Y'all, it was a total plus. I mean, people that he's been helping people. I mean, it was amazing what happened. He was so nervous. If you need anonymity, please understand that's honored and respected. But if you can recover out loud, when we recover out loud, we're going to save lives. We're going to show somebody in active addiction that there is hope and there's joy in recovery. It breaks that stigma down too, by the way. It helps us secure funding. And why did I put that number 3? Because it's funding that pays the bills to turn on the lights and pay the rent and buy the gas and do the stuff to have the programs for prevention and treatment and harm reduction and recovery. We got to pay the bills. We got to pass pro-recovery and treatment and prevention laws. We got to pass the laws. We got to stop the bad laws. Do you realize that up until a year or so ago, a fentanyl test strip in Georgia was considered drug paraphernalia? And if you had it, you could be arrested? Well, we passed a law that changed that. We did that because we showed up. So this has real consequences. There's still policies at some schools that if you've got legal consequences from addiction that you don't get a chance to apply for a university. Well, how the heck are you supposed to better your life if you can't get an education? We're fighting in the trenches, and that's what we need you to do, join the Army to fight these battles. Is that making sense, anybody? Am I making sense? Because no one's interrupted. And you can argue with me. We can just have a big debate. But I hope what I'm saying is making sense. Yes? No? Somebody tell me? Okay. We're going to keep going then. Well, I told you this earlier. I've got this screen on here, so I can't see everything. There we go. We save lives, restore families. Well, it's supposed to say, should say strengthen communities, which then lets us secure funding, pass those laws. And by the way, I really can't stress this enough. And I know some of you are on here. There's 71 people on here. And again, I get it. Some of you, will join this army and help us and become awesome leaders. Some of you, I get it. It's not advocacy is not really your thing. I get that. But I'm telling you this. There's nobody else that's going to come help us. And we need every one of you to help us.
Hey, Jeff, Frankie had a question.
Okay, Frankie. I guess you're going to unmute Frankie?
Yes.
Yes, there we
You
go.
hear me okay?
There we go.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, so much. I'm enjoying this. Probably too much for it being politics. I just, as of this year, I've always been interested, but when the grants got cut in January, I got active, and I hate legislation. Oh man, God bless your spirit and everything within you. Who is it hard? Um, what would someone who doesn't like sitting through legal proceedings um, be able to do? I mean, I understand that we can show up at press conferences. I can.
Sure.
um, but I think that would also, be a something to look at as, if I can't sit in legislation because, I don't know if I can hold my mouth and I don't know if I can be still. But I appreciate this so much, and it gives me a focus rather than just being angry.
No,
Um,
that's great. Do you have a question? Because I think I know what your question is.
but yeah, my question was, if you can't go to
Right.
legislation, what are
Yeah.
your other options? Sorry.
No,
Thank you.
great. No, great, great. And there are lots of other options, and we'll just pivot to that. There may be a slide for it later. I don't know. But you would think I would know all the slides. Most people are much more professional than me. But specifically, Frankie, the first thing that I always say, and Justin and Andrew will come to you after this. The very first thing you can do is the Jeff Breedlove broken record of social media. And it's as simple as as this. It's free. It's absolutely 100% free. It doesn't cost any money for you as an advocate to get on Facebook. And I don't, by the way, Zuckerberg owns Facebook, right? And Elon Musk owns X. And some people don't like Zuckerberg and some people don't. Guess what? I don't care about those two guys. I care about the platform, the ability to communicate. So it doesn't matter who owns these things. Stakeholders are on those things. Debates happen on those things. So the Georgia Council is on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And they are posting things every day. And every time the council posts something, here's how you can advocate with the council. Like it, share it, and make a comment on it. Every time somebody does those three things on a council post, it boosts that post up in the algorithm and more people see it. That's the social part of social media without getting too technical. So we need our army when the council, you don't even have to create the stuff. Just push what the council's putting out there out. Cost you $0. You know when I do it? And I'm not being flippant. It may sound like I'm being flippant, especially if you don't know me, but I'm not. I'm being dead serious. Jack Breedlove and I, when baseball season happens, we watch a lot of Braves games. And my wife and I, we watch a lot of British crime shows together on BritBox and whatnot. When I'm watching repeats of those shows, I sit there on the phone and try to advocate for recovery. It is not just the council. There's 52 recovery community organizations. I know they're not all on social media, although they all should be. Thank you very much. And it's not just peer-led recovery. What about our prevention friends and our treatment friends and our harm reduction friends and our recovery housing friends like GAR? They all have social media presence. You can help simply by clicking like, share, or making a comment. And what comment, Jeff? I don't know what to say, Jeff. How about good job? Or that's right. Or amen. Or more of this. You don't have to write policy, just create content. That's the first thing you can do. The second thing you can do, and Frankie, I'm going to give two more. The Georgia Council has look, the council's not perfect, but we're pretty darn good, y'all. And we have a program in place at the council. I mean, it's a program, it's a computer program where we generate email content. We write the email, and once Larissa's approved it, we send it out to people that have signed up for our advocacy list. All you have to do when you get that email is click a little link that Sierra Carnes has made, put your name and address in there. And that email automatically goes to your elected official. You don't even have to know who they are. And they get a pre-written email. Why does that matter? I'm telling you why it matters. I've been the chief of staff, but I'm not going to name a name, but I'm telling you in Congress and at the state capitol, they understand they get those automated emails. And they print the first one to know what it says. The members ask their staff to give them account of who is for and against the bill. We are trying to drive the number up on whatever side we're on. If we're for it, that's why we ask y'all to send them in. So that takes you all of 30 seconds to respond to one of those email things from wherever you are, from your phone, for heaven's sakes, or your laptop. That's the second thing you can do. And so far, you haven't spoken to anybody, by the way, if you're shy. What's the third thing you can do? Yeah, you're going to have to talk to somebody. But let me tell you, you're going to talk to. You're going to talk to a staff member. You're not going to talk to the member. But sometimes we will ask you to make a phone call. And we know you're talking to a staff member. And we write the script for you. It's about 1 minute long because we don't want staff members mad, but we've made this decision that the office needs some phone calls itself. So we'll say, here's the member's name, here's their phone number, here's exactly what we want you to say. Please call and say it. I know that stuff works. And so far, you've spent exactly $0. Those are the three main ways, Frankie, for now. But I see Andrew, Justine, and Sheila have questions. So let me go to them. Whoever wants to go, I don't know.
I think
Hello.
Andrew, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go
You
ahead,
think I
Sheila.
need to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Hello. Um, I'm Sheila, and I've been in long-term recovery now for 25 years. What that means to me is that I do not find it necessary substance to get me through the day.
Sheila, your audio is cutting out. We could barely hear you.
Can you hear me? I have a headpiece in because I didn't really.
It's
How
still not
about
working.
now?
What we'll do is, Sheila, put your question in the chat and we'll
Is
read
it
the ch
not working now?
It's working better. You go ahead.
Okay. Um, what I wanted to say when it came to advocacy, I found out this year about stigma. I finally joined a church, an AME Zion church, and I didn't have a problem breaking my own anonymity. However, I was pulled to the side and asked, would I start talking to some of the members and clergymen who's having substance abuse problems, but they don't want the rest of the church to know that they have these problems. So I wanted to take this particular seminar so that I
Sheila,
could.
it's still hard to hear you. So if you could put your question in the chat, we will
I'll put
try to
it in the
get to
chat.
it. Okay,
I'll put
thank
it in
you.
the chat.
Andrew, did you have a
Thank
question?
you.
Thank you.
So what I'm thinking, you mentioned like allies and Darth Vaders and whatnot. And understanding that those things are always changing, like different things pop up, different things go away. Is there things that we can look for as a community that you're aware of, like maybe resources for websites that are allies that could help us to tend in the right direction? Like because wherever I show up, I'm representing something, and this is a part of who I am. And if I could at least feel better knowing that on a daily basis that I was trending in the right direction of doing things that are helping our community. So if there is like say for instance, I'm 9 years into this thing, and what that means to me is that I can vote now. Like I couldn't vote for a while there, and I like voting. So I struggle with trying to keep up with everything and pay attention long enough without getting stressed out to the people that are running and understanding, which direction I can vote that winds up helping us in the long run. Because I have kids and nephews and so on, that are following behind me, and I want to help. We got to make this the standard is the problem. Like this isn't new. Like we're replacing something that has just completely screwed a lot of people up. So we got to keep it going. And I was just wondering if you might, if there's like websites or resources or anything that maybe we could check and be up to date on what the, like not that's not just who to vote for, but like things that we can do, places we can be, stuff like that to try to help.
Good question. And actually, it's actually two questions, and it's very important. Um, so where to be and things like that, I'm gonna talk about, and then who to vote for, I'm gonna talk about. I got to be very careful here because there's a lot of leeway in advocacy for nonprofits, but there is a no-no, an IRS no-no. And the one thing that we cannot do, any nonprofit can do, this is across the board for nonprofits in any cause, is we cannot advocate directly for the election of a particular candidate. We cannot say, it is forbidden in federal law to say vote for Jeff Breedlove or vote against Andrew Hill. We cannot say those words or anything that reasonably would mean those words. So we have to be very, very, very careful there. So very rarely for a 501c3 would you see such a list. 501c4s can do that. A lot of groups create a 501c4, whatever. We haven't done that. What you can do is you can share which members joined a working group on addiction and recovery. And you certainly know they're for you. If you have any, now it doesn't mean if somebody hasn't joined that they're against you, but that's certainly a clue. So we try to put clues out there. You can see on social media who's constantly meeting with us. So there's no perfect way for us to tell you who to vote for or against. And we want to be very, very transparent about that. We would never tell you who to vote for or against. I want to say that since this is being taped. But we will certainly share with you who works for our causes. We can do that. You will certainly see who we thank. We can certainly thank people. And that's what I can say about that. Now, places to go and things to do. That's so important, Andrew. You see, all of you live in a community that has a Rotary Club, probably, and a Kiwanis Club. And I never know how to say Kiwanis, whatever they want to say. Some of them have a Toastmasters that have guest speakers, whatever. Guess what? Jeff likes to talk. So you may not want to get up and give a speech to the Rotary Club. But you say, well, we got this guy, Jeff. He'll come down. When's the last time we had a speaker about the addiction epidemic in Georgia? Oh, we never have. Well, you know why they probably haven't? Because we haven't asked. But if a local person asks, I got to tell you, I've got, so you can go speak. You don't need my permission. Go talk to your Rotary Club. If you don't want to talk, call me up and say, come talk to my Rotary Club. I told them that I wanted you to come down. And I'm using those as examples. It can be the Booster Club. It can be the PTA. It can be the Ladies Auxiliary Group at the Baptist Church. I mean, it can be the atheist congregation. I don't care what the group is. If it's a gathering of human beings in your community, a local person that goes up to them and says, can I come talk to you? Or can I bring somebody who's my friend to come talk to you? They are 90% more likely to say, well, sure, we'd love that. So everywhere you go, you could always be asking, can we bring recovery to you when you have one of your speakers? And I will get in my little car and come down there and talk, or I'll sit there in the room while you talk and cheer you on. Justine?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much. I just wanted to take a moment to just introduce myself. As I said earlier, I'm new to the state of Georgia, but I have a lot of experience in advocacy. I've spent over several years of my own time and energy uh, advocating in the state capitol up in New York, and I'm comfortable in the role of leading and speaking. I definitely have a lot to say, and I won't take up too much time because I know that you're going to continue on with your presentation. I have a lot of experience on the treatment side and prevention side, as also being a person in long-term recovery, and I'm comfortable sharing that. And I really am looking forward to this. I was nervous coming down here. I didn't know if there was going to be something like what we have in New York. There's a lot of centered uh, care for individuals, and I've been down here now for about almost 2 months, and I'm trying not to compare, seeing what's missing, seeing what we have up in New York, and how I can be of service here, because the advocacy and breaking the stigma for me is so very important, and encouraging other people in early recovery to also share their experiences. I'm a firm believer that it can help build self-esteem when we get outside of the parameters of I am my disease, right? And we kind of take that ownership back into, yes, I do struggle with the disease of addiction, but I also can speak out about it, and I'm so much more than my disease. So I guess my question, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I just wanted to know what some of the asks will be when we do get there and we are meeting with legislators. Now, I'm very versed and familiar with the legislation up in New York. So if someone wants to take me under their wing, I'm malleable, and I like to use my voice. So I'm
Cool.
excited about this.
Well, cool. Well, three things. I'm going to go ahead and click there. I just put for
Perfect.
everybody, I put my cell number there. So some people will tell you that I like texting as opposed to emailing. Uh, that's a joke. But yes, I love texting. So some people say too much. But you can text me, Justine.
Okay.
Let me know it's you. I'll put you in as a contact and we can communicate further.
Awesome.
Um, um, I will go ahead and pivot to that. And I have no cheat sheet here. Um, so we're gonna send out an email. Larissa and I actually met yesterday and we did everything but pick a date, actually, for the email. But we'll send an email out probably after Christmas. The General Assembly in Georgia will go into session. It's always the second Monday of the year. So this year it's January 12th. We'll send an email out right after New Year's, and it will have sort of a public, what we choose to make public. We don't make everything public. Uh, 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 Legislative guide for 2026. But I can tell y'all, certainly. Well, actually, okay. How much time do we have, Dwayne? I have everything but a clock.
We have a little less than 30 minutes left,
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll be
about
fine. Okay,
26 minutes.
okay. So just for, oh, well, that's a great, okay, here, advocacy question number three. What is true advocacy? Yeah, I'm actually curious to see how y'all do this one. Give you a clue. The word true is important.
Only 20 people. Come on, y'all. Let's
Now, I'm
participate.
losing them. I'm losing them. Come on,
I
y'all.
don't see the poll.
Uh-oh. Well, that's a problem.
I'm not sure why you don't see it, but it is okay. And I'm gonna close in about 10 seconds, y'all. And those are the results, Jeff.
So this is a subjective question, but in my humble opinion, it is meeting with those you disagree with. You see, look, in America, there's two big political teams. One is the red team, one is the blue team. You know what I mean when I say red and blue? Republicans and Democrats, red and blue. It's one thing to go talk to somebody you agree with, right? You agree with them, and they agree with you, and everybody's happy. That's great. Advocacy is going into the room of somebody you can't stand, meeting with them in a professional manner, and they never know you can't stand them. And you do business. For what? Recovery. You may not like their position on guns, you may not like their position on abortion, but you aren't there to talk about guns or abortion. You're there to talk about recovery. And when you get to the point, if you're a progressive, where you can walk into a conservative's office and be all business all the time, and they think you're the greatest thing ever, the most professional thing ever, or if you're a conservative, you can walk into a progressive's office and keep it to the business at hand, you are at next level advocacy. Two of the most respected groups in Washington, D.C. are the NRA and Planned Parenthood, and they are diametrically opposed to each other. Conservatives love the NRA, progressives love Planned Parenthood, but both groups are respected by the other side because why? Every time they ask to have a meeting with the other side, it's all business, it's all professional, it's all respectful, and they have built trust, they have built relationships, they never burn the other side, they don't yell at them, they don't scream at them, they just get professional about advocacy. You know what they come to sometimes? Compromises, solutions. When we get to that point, we're gonna be somewhere. So Justine, I haven't forgotten your question, but I do want to pivot off of that poll to say this. After I answer Justine's question, I want to talk to you about the difference between activism and advocacy. I'm going to say that. So this session in Georgia is an election year in Georgia for our state constitutional officers. Our governor is term limited out, so there's people running for governor. And because of that, there's people running for lieutenant governor and attorney general, and half, it seems like, of the General Assembly is running for higher office, and they cannot raise money while they're in session, and all of them want to have a very short session and get out of there so they can legally raise money and go campaign. And so some people don't even know. They don't even know. They are still negotiating on exactly how long the session is going to be this year and all that kind of stuff. And all of us, we don't know. So there's a lot of factors in an election year like this that are going to go into play as to what actually makes it across the finish line and what doesn't. We will be certainly advocating for some legislation to support nurses who find themselves in addiction situations. I'm simplifying this. You understand, I hope. I'm very much simplifying all these things. But nurses and addiction will be a big push for us. We talked about that yesterday at the Capitol. We had a panel on that yesterday. That's how important that is to us. We are working very closely with our friends at the Georgia Association of Recovery Residencies. Full credit to GAR. They are working hard to get some legislation in Georgia to provide protections and regulations around recovery residencies in Georgia. There are none. We're working on that. We do think that's going to happen. That's a big deal push, probably going to happen. We have legislation out there. We're optimistic. Actually had a meeting about it yesterday with two of the members. Georgia does have, Justine, I just want to, first of all, Justine, the first thing you need to know, Georgia better than New York. Just
I would agree.
got to just say, better than New York. But Texas, you see, Texas has more RCOs than Georgia, but we're number 2 in the nation. So we have more RCOs, recovery community organizations, than any state in the nation except Texas. First of all, I want to change that. I want to be able to say more than any other state. But as we grow, in all seriousness, and I think Brian Kite said we're at 52 or something, well, we're getting worried about con artists and manipulators and bad actors. So we've got some language that we work with DBHCD on to legally define what an RCO is in Georgia. So a bad actor can't go into a community and do some illegal stuff. So we're going to try to define RCOs in Georgia legally so they're protected. You may not know this, but in Georgia, alcohol is not legally a drug.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what everybody says. So it's a long story. We don't have time for it. We have legislation to make it a drug. It's not, I want to be clear, it is not going to impede a restaurant or the beverage industry from doing anything at all. It's not about that.
right.
It will classify it as a drug so that if there's a grant for a medical condition, that alcohol will now be a drug, and that program can support people through insurance with alcohol. We'll also allow it to be a drug for research purposes at universities like the University of Georgia, where they can get money in our state for research. So it is a technical correction. I want to be clear on that, but it's a much needed technical correction, heavily supported by the council and our friends at the Georgia Addiction Counselors Association. Those are 4. We have more. In the interest of time, I'll pivot away from that, but you'll see the list. And I'm not sure how this session's going to go because of all the elections, but we'll see. Did you have another question, Justine?
Yeah, and very quickly, because I know you want to move
Well,
forward.
wait, hold on one second though,
Sure.
because he put this question up. What can you do to advance advocacy for free? Now, if you were listening earlier,
There's not an all the above thing on there. There should be an all the above.
no, Gina, you are a
I
genius.
can't see the
I feel the
poll.
same way.
Okay, but Deborah, you came in second. Gina
So
gets
do
the
I.
platinum. If we were giving out prizes, Gina would get the prize. This I actually had fun with. This was a trick question. There was no wrong answer. All of those things. I was just curious as to which one people would check. But Gina, you said, I wondered, well, would anybody say something? All those things you can do for free. So
Gina's
well done.
going to share her gift with me.
Yeah. Deborah popped in. Ben said he caught it. All right. Justine, go ahead with that quick
Just
question.
quicker at hitting the button, Deborah. That's all. And
There
I've
you
been
go.
wanting to start an RCO here, and I've been trying to get in touch with Brian. So
Where's he? Okay, Gina, where's here?
I'm now in Shiloh. I'm just north of Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
So there's a 2-part thing that I have down here about here in Columbus. I did not know until I moved into this area that Columbus is the second largest city in Georgia. So there's a very high military population because of Fort Benning. But
Yeah.
are you aware of the fact that there is not one recovery house for women with children here? Not one.
That's a serious problem. Yes.
It's a serious problem. So I know you probably know the people from MAR that have Right Side Up.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
This would be, they get all their money from DHS.
Well, text me. We'll talk about it offline.
Okay.
But I'm happy to talk about it. Love to.
I'm trying to do an RCO here for.
Well, also, Gina, text me and tell me that in the text, because
Okay.
I will remind Mr. Kite to give you a call very quickly.
Thank
Justine,
you.
you had a question, and then Frankie.
Just a very quick one. So if somebody requires medical detoxification, does the insurance not pay, or do people not receive medical treatment for?
Oh, sadly, not in many cases. So very quickly, Justine, Georgia passed that Parity Act I referenced earlier because in Georgia, the insurance commissioners, several of them, were not enforcing the Federal Parity Act. So we passed. This is how
Same in New York.
Yeah, we passed a freaking state law.
Yeah.
Which basically at 73 pages, and I'm not a lawyer, but you can boil it down to this: follow federal law. You must follow. That's really all that law did. They're still not fully following it. There's another. Oh, speaking of bills, I will say this: there is a piece of legislation that's been introduced that we are pushing hard, which creates a parity review panel to have a
Wonderful.
public panel to put oversight on, frankly, the insurance commissioner because he's dragging his freaking feet. And Katie Dempsey from Rome, Georgia, introduced that bill, and we are strong supporters of her bill. And it is pathetic that, well, thank God for Katie, but it's pathetic that we have to create yet another bill to create
Yeah.
a public panel to put public pressure on the freaking insurance commissioner to
Yeah.
force the insurance the insurance companies to do their job. It is
Yeah, they're
absolutely
pretty
pathetic.
dedicated to figuring out how they can uh,
Oh,
move seats on the Titanic. The amount of
oh, it's
blowback
terrible.
we experience
Yeah.
is unreal. Unreal.
Frankie, quick question.
Yes. I put it in the chat.
Oh,
I'm not sure about, throughout Georgia, but I know at least in some counties, there's no oversight to residential recovery houses.
no,
Is that, as you were talking, I mean, it's back a little ways, but is that, in,
that's the
that ad?
that's the GAR bill. Yeah, that's exactly why there is a bill.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you so
exactly
much for
why.
clarifying that.
No, and just for the record, and this is why I'm very, 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 very optimistic about this. And there's some things I just cannot, I don't have the privilege to say, but that policy concept was discussed not once, but twice in the interim. It was discussed at a Senate study committee this summer and fall, public study committee, and it was discussed at the Georgia Behavioral Health Innovation Commission's addiction committee very publicly. So we had two public policy discussions. We are incredibly optimistic that all the right language is there for the administration, the governor's administration, the General Assembly to be in agreement on what a law could be. And we are incredibly optimistic we'll have some good peer, family, and industry friendly language to stop the bad guys. Okay, let's just go pretend like we have this PowerPoint and see what's on there. Dwayne, give me like a 5-minute heads up. All right, okay. At this point, you guys get it. Federal, state, county, city. It's very, very important. And I have glossed over the federal. So let me take a moment and tell you this. Y'all, we got to do work in Washington. It is bipartisan. I don't care if you like Donald Trump or not, or Joe Biden or not. I do not care, and I need you not. You got to get past these personalities. They make decisions we like and that we don't like, that are good and that are bad. This is the difference between an activist and an advocate. That's a perfect segue. And if you really care, and there's still 68 of you hanging on. That's pretty cool. Listen to this. This is important. We need activists. I love activists. And if you're an activist, God bless you. And we need you. But activists are not necessarily advocates. And here's what I mean. If you want to run down to the government building or to the business office and tell them, this is the answer, this is the way to do it, you're a Nazi for not doing it, and if you don't do it our way, you're doing it the wrong way, well, that's activism. And sometimes we need that. The council's done that. I did that, and it made the news for the council. They were going to cut some funding in the state budget during the COVID year, and the governor said everything was getting cut 17% across the board, and somebody wanted to cut our stuff 70, not 17. And we met with them and met with them and met with them, and the person said nope, nope, nope. And so Neil told me to go after them, and I bought a big beach ball thing on Amazon for the Death Star. I mean, this thing was huge. And Jack held the camera up. Remember, so far all I've bought is a beach ball thing on Amazon. Looks like the Death Star. And we said that this this bureaucrat, tried not to say their name, is making Death Star-like blow cuts to mental health and addiction recovery during COVID, and it's not acceptable, and it's got to stop. Well, media picked up on it, went all over social media, and although that unelected bureaucrat was incredibly mad at Neil Campbell and myself for several months, She did take our cuts to 17%, just like everybody else's in the state. That was above everybody's pay grade. That's what the governor ordered. But we did not get the 70% cut that would have completely annihilated our stories. When we have to fight, I don't want newcomers to understand, y'all, we have the nuclear weapons. We got them. We try to avoid using them. So sometimes we need activists. But I don't want you to misunderstand activism for advocacy. The whole goal of advocacy, and I deeply believe this, is, and I know that we are a constitutional republic, but we say democracy over and over and over. In a democracy, it is very rarely going to be your way and not the highway. You have to compromise. If you believe in diversity and inclusion and all this stuff, different people have different ideas. And so a piece of legislation in Georgia that is usually introduced is very rarely the bill that passes. There's all kinds of amendments and things put in, things taken out. And sometimes our people get so emotional and so angry on day one and call names. Do you want to be called a Nazi or a killer or intolerant? Man, no, you don't. And neither do they. So I remind you that it's a process. The legislative process is a process. There's 40 days for a reason. There's multiple committees it goes through for a reason. So you have to decide what's in your heart. It's not my job to tell you that. That's not my privilege to tell you that. You're your own leader. But I promise you this, you do not get to be both an activist and an advocate. Because once you define yourself, that's how they see you. So I'll give you my favorite example. If you live in your community and the mayor of your town wants to put bike lanes all over your city streets, and you don't want the mayor to do that because you think it's going to cause less surface space for cars and more congestion, and it takes you 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes to get over to your favorite restaurant in your town. So you go to the city council meetings and you say the mayor's an idiot. And you get on social media and you say the mayor's an idiot. Well, the mayor's hearing you. And the mayor probably doesn't like that. But then when that grant for recovery money comes to your town and you call the mayor and say, Mayor, good buddy, I'd like a meeting to talk to you about how we should spend that $1 million for recovery. Why in the world would the mayor meet with the person that called him an idiot over and over and over again? These are human beings. This is a professional situation. How you treat them is how they're going to treat you. I'm here to tell you that. So, we got to make a decision. Are we uniters? Do we negotiate? Do we find compromise? Do we get the best we can? Or do we go in there and call a bunch of names and draw lines in the sand? That's your choice, not my choice. I believe we've passed more recovery-friendly legislation in the past 7 years in Georgia than any other state has. I believe Georgia has put more money into mental health and recovery programs in the past 7 years than any other state has. We've passed the recovery license plate, for heaven's sakes. I mean, we are going to continue to preach advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. When we need activism, it'll be limited but necessary. But you guys have to decide the difference between the two. Know the stakeholders. Now, I think I have time for this, Dwayne. I've talked about elected officials for a lot of time, right? Who's more important than an elected official in that environment? Their staff. Their staff, their staff, their staff. 2 examples. The member of Congress is coming to your town. And while he's in your town, he's going to stop by your RCO or your treatment center or whatever. Doesn't matter. And they make the member of Congress a gift bag. Nice shirt, nice mug, lapel pin, whatever is in there. Very nice. They give it to the member of Congress. They feel good about themselves. That 26-year-old staffer driving the congressman around that day was sitting there taking notes, taking pictures. They don't even barely know his name. Mistake. Huge mistake. Why? Remember, I started off as an intern and rose to a chief of staff and strategic advisor for members of Congress. I am here to tell you that the member of Congress is going to make about 6 stops that day. When he goes or she goes home that night, yeah, they're done. They checked out. That staffer traveling writes a daily report for the chief of staff and tells them their observations of all the meetings. They're a human being. Which one do you think they're going to like the most? The one that barely acknowledged their existence on this planet, or the one that gave them all the cool gifts and swag? Treat the staff the best you possibly can, and they will treat you the best they possibly can. I'm telling you, that's a secret. Now, the other example of that is when you make a phone call, remember the person answering is a staffer. And in Georgia, the ladies, it's mostly ladies that answer the phone at the state capitol. They are usually older ladies. They are sweet Southern older ladies. When you call up with attitude, where do you think your message goes? Straight to the trash can. When you call up nice and respectful, they want to put yours around the top of the list. Treat the staff the best you can. Never, ever, ever, ever lie to a reporter. Don't do it. And don't give a reporter an answer that's not accurate. So you're not a staff member for the council. You're a volunteer activist. Jeff, that's why I don't want to go to any meetings. Because, Jeff, if a reporter asks me a question, I don't know what to say, so I'm just not going. See, I'm worried that Deborah might do that. Deborah, I'm picking on you because I can see
You
you on
got
my
about
screen.
3 minutes, Jeff.
All right, we're going to end on this point. Why can Deborah still go to the meeting? Because the reporter walks up to Deborah afterwards, and the reporter says, Deborah, that was great, but I got a couple of follow-up questions. Deborah can say, you know what? I'm just a volunteer. What's your deadline for this? And they'll say, my deadline is 1 hour or 1 day or whatever they say. Okay, well, there's this guy, Jeff Breedlove, and he's got all the answers for you. Can Jeff call you? Because I'm just a volunteer. Do you know what the reporter is going to say 99 out of 100 times? Absolutely. It's awesome you're a volunteer. Jeff knows those things. Give him my number. So you don't have to be afraid to speak because you're afraid of a reporter. So that was that. You see that. Oh, I do want to show. This is the last minute right here. And then I will please take a picture of this if you have your camera. Because I want you to get GA recovers and GAPOL. Those are the hashtags that we use. GA recovers. That's ours. It's very established. And GAPOL is used by everybody in politics in Georgia. So if you don't have a lot of followers, but you want to be in the conversation, use those 2 hashtags. Especially on X with GAPOL. Every day on X, there's a whole thread. It's a very active thread on Twitter, X. That's how you can take your message beyond your followers on social media. Right there. I'll leave it at that. I will tell you, Dwayne, if we go over 1 minute, this is Jeff Breedlove. Recovery from crack cocaine, not talking about advocacy. We are posting on social media today/tomorrow 4 images on January 7th and 8th at noon and 7 p.m. both days, where myself and Larissa and on some of them, and Emily Riblet and Brian Kite on others with me, we're going to have 4 pre-ARAD. You only have to come to one of them. We're just doing 4 for your schedules. But there'll be a virtual pre-ARAD meeting that we invite you to come to. We'll talk about policy deeper. We'll talk about the day itself at the Capitol. We'll talk about recovery messaging and recovery language. A little bit different than this presentation. So you'll see those posts on my social media and on the council's social media. And that's a virtual opportunity to join us on the 7th or 8th. Come to one of those meetings. Come to ARAD. God, I hope this was worth your time. I hope I didn't waste your time. I hope you will join our recovery army. You will see emails and social media posts with the link to join the recovery advocacy team. I hope you will sign up for the advocacy team, and we need your voice.